Hey friends. I just wanted to talk for a minute about something that's been on my mind with everything that's going on with this COVID-19 mess. And I don't know about you, but I'm starting to actually personally know people affected by this. It's spreading like crazy, and um, it's really, really sad to see. And I think it's time that we all, including myself, really start taking this seriously. With Easter coming up next week, I started thinking about 3 years ago at this time. I was inpatient in a hospital. I had to be inpatient for 62 days. And I just kind of wanted to share my experience really quick and relate it to this. The reason why I had to go inpatient, I was pregnant with what's called Momo twins for short, or monochorionic monoamniotic twins. Basically, what that means is the twins are in the same sac and they share the same placenta. And because of that, they are extremely high risk. So they have about a 50% mortality rate, which totally freaked us out at first. And some doctors even suggest just aborting them because the risk of losing them is so high. And that's something that we were not willing to do. We don't believe in abortion, and I wanted to do everything I could to save my babies. So what that meant is that at 24 weeks, I needed to go into the hospital to be monitored to make sure that there were no issues with the babies. So I went into the hospital, had my own room, and I was treated like a patient. I had the full on like IVs, vitals checks 100 times a day, all that fun stuff. And then they were monitoring the babies all the time. Well, the babies, so when I went in, they had it set up so that it was like, depending on how the babies were doing, as long as they were stable, they would do monitoring for a couple hours, and then I would get a break for a couple hours, monitoring and then a break. There were many, many times my babies would act up, meaning their heart rates would take big dives or just kind of be all over the place. And I would have to be hooked up to the monitor 24 hours a day. I think the longest was like a week straight, probably, where it was just constant monitoring. I was able to sometimes get up to go to the bathroom, and sometimes I'd get a tiny little shower break, but that was kind of it. But when the babies were doing well, the doctors were really nice to make exceptions for things like allowing us to do, I say us because there was another friend that had this that I met at the hospital that had Momo twins as well. And so she and I became very close and still are very close. And the doctor allowed us to do pool therapy together, which was heavenly when you're super pregnant and heavy. Getting in a pool is just heavenly. So that was something that was like a huge treat to us. There were things that I missed while I was inpatient. I missed out on Easter, Mother's Day, birthdays. Like, it was sad. And not only that, but I had my two older kids at home. They were 3 and 2. 3 and 2 at the time. Maybe the older one had just turned 4. Sorry, I can't remember because it was all a blur. But anyway, it was a big sacrifice for our whole family and everyone involved. But you know what? The community rallied together and really helped us. Our church community, our family, our neighbors, everyone helped us do everything they could for our kids. They sent me things to help me feel comfortable. Well, ultimately, what it came down to, we were going to try to make it 34 weeks before we took the babies out. At that point, with Momo twins, they won't let you go past that because the risk is just too high of losing them. So right at 32 weeks, right before I was scheduled for my pool therapy, one of the nurses came running in, and she had noticed that the one of the babies, baby B, took a huge dip in her heart rate, and it wasn't moving. It wasn't coming back up. And that meant they had to pull the babies out right then. So I was immediately rushed to the operating room, and within 8 minutes of them seeing the heart rate dip, the babies were out. It was a total miracle. Both of them survived. They both needed oxygen. They were both in the NICU for an extended amount of time. One of them 5 weeks, one of them 6 weeks. They needed a lot of assistance to survive. But you know what? I now have 2 extremely healthy, beautiful, happy, amazing girls. And the reason I bring this story up is it was a big sacrifice. Not only for me, but for my husband, having to take care of 2 kids without me while working a full-time job, and taking care of our home and everything else. It was a sacrifice for those that helped us with our kids. Both my mom and my husband's mom were huge helps in everything. And, it was definitely a sacrifice for me. I was stuck in a hotel room, not a hotel room, definitely not a hotel room, a hospital room, for 62 days, not able to live my normal life. But the sacrifice was worth it because I wanted to save my babies. And I would do it again in a heartbeat. Like, absolutely no question. But that makes me think of now with COVID-19, sometimes we think, well, I don't feel sick, or, I'm healthy, so if I catch it, then not a big deal. Like, I'll be fine. Here's one of them, Cheeto face. But that's not how this works. Guys, they're still learning about this virus. It's really scary. And I'm noticing, like, what happens is, okay, well, I'm young and healthy and I might not be at risk, but I'm able to carry it, and I might not know that I'm carrying it, and I might pass it on to someone who is more high risk. Someone older in my life, and maybe I don't see them directly, but maybe I happen to catch it while I'm walking around the store, and I pass it on to my mom because I go to visit my mom, and then my mom happens to see my grandma and passes it on to my grandma, and then that's a problem. And I know I personally, because I am starting to personally see people in my life that are affected by this, I'm really going to start taking this seriously. I've been keeping the kids home and we've been doing what we can, but it's really just time to buckle down and do everything we can until we get this, the curve has flattened. The reason I say this is because, yes, it's a sacrifice. It is a sacrifice for all of us to have to stay home and to not live our lives and to not be out spending time with our family, especially with Easter coming up. I know I want more than anything to spend Easter with my family. It was devastating when I was in the hospital and had to miss seeing them for Easter, but the sacrifice is worth it, guys. It's worth it. We're keeping our family members alive. We all need to make this very temporary sacrifice for the next couple of months or however long it's going to be to keep our family members alive and keep them safe so that we can all live on this earth longer and enjoy our time together. So anyway, thank you for listening. That's it. I wanted to share a couple of things really, really fast that helped me, but I know it's going to cut this short. Hopefully I can cut out some of this so it'll actually fit. But a couple of things that helped me were having a hobby. Believe it or not, I developed a hobby of crochet. I made blankets and fun little things for the babies, and I still love to crochet, but that kept me really busy. I got up and got dressed whenever I could. The nurses were like surprised the first thing in the morning when I got off monitors. When I was able to, I would immediately request a shower, and they were like, why? But it helped me to feel alive and refreshed, and I would put on makeup and I'd feel like a real person, even though I wasn't going to be seeing anyone. It helped so much. But you know what? There were some days that I just was tired. I do have issues with depression, and some days I just felt depressed, and I decided to just stay in bed, and that was fine, and I think that's okay. For those of us with kids during this quarantine period, that's probably not an option. I know it's not an option for me, but you don't have to be 100% every day. You don't have to do it all every day. Just do what you can when you can. Some days you're going to feel better than others. Music helped a lot for me. It was church music and uplifting music, and then also just upbeat music that made me happy. So anyway, these are just a couple of things that helped me, and I hope can help you too. And I hope you'll unite with me in staying home and doing what you can to protect your loved ones. And I will talk to you guys later.